presidential activity during January 2020. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met with the Prime Minister, a number of ministers, and senior officials. The meeting dealt with a number of issues regarding the latest developments of measures being taken to combat terrorism within the framework of protecting and securing the country's borders. President el-Sisi chaired a meeting of the National Security Council in which a number of vital issues related to the current regional and international conditions were reviewed, including the ongoing negotiations for an agreement between Egypt, Sudan, and Ethiopia on the Nahda Dam, as well as the current developments of the Libyan crisis. During his meeting with the Prime Minister and the Minister of State for Information, the President stressed the importance of the media's role in shaping the citizens' awareness. The President directed during the meeting to strengthen the concept of professional media in Egypt, to be able to ward off the dangers of spreading rumors and rapidly interact with the pace of escalating regional events. President el-Sisi received the French Minister of Foreign Affairs, and the meeting witnessed discussing a number of files related to bilateral relations and ways to enhance the partnership between the two countries, especially at the economic, commercial, investment, and development levels. During his meeting with the Chinese Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Foreign Affairs, President el-Sisi stressed Egypt's keenness to develop bilateral cooperation at various levels within the framework of a comprehensive strategic partnership that brings the two countries together. President el-Sisi pointed to the integration of the Chinese initiative Belt and Road with Egypt's developmental efforts. President el-Sisi received the advisor to the King of the Hashemite Kingdom of Jordan. The meeting reviewed aspects of joint relations, underlining the importance of continuing work on strengthening economic relations and increasing trade exchange in a way that promotes the level of bilateral political relations. During his meeting with the Prime Minister, Dr. Mustafa Madbouli, Minister of Electricity and Renewable Energy, Dr. Mohammed Shakir, President el-Sisi ordered pursuing implementing electrical linkage projects with neighboring countries, especially in light of mutual interests in advancing development efforts. The President met with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Agriculture. The meeting discussed a review of all current and future projects of the Ministry of Agriculture in various sectors, as well as the most important challenges and ways to overcome them. During his meeting with the Prime Minister and the Ministers of Social Solidarity, Trade and Industry, President el-Sisi directed continuing efforts to advance the industrial sector in Egypt as one of the main pillars of the national economy. During his meeting with the President of the European Council, President el-Sisi underlined the rank of the European Union in Egypt's foreign policy, and the meeting reviewed various aspects of the institutional relationship between Egypt and the European Union. President el-Sisi met with the Prime Minister and the Minister of International Cooperation, and the meeting discussed a review of the future strategy of the Ministry of International Cooperation within the framework of the country's economic and development efforts. During his meeting with the Prime Minister and the Minister of Transport, President el-Sisi directed continuous efforts to modernize the transportation system in Egypt comprehensively and enhance the capabilities of this pivotal sector in a qualitative manner, as it is an essential component for the advancement of infrastructure. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received the Prime Minister of Italy, and the President stressed the importance that Egypt attaches to the development of bilateral relations in various domains. And the meeting discussed the Libyan crisis and the latest developments related to the ongoing investigations in the case of the student Regini. The President inaugurated the second military base in Egypt, Bernice Military Base, and it's considered the largest of its kind in the region. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi and the Crown Prince of Abu Dhabi inaugurated the Sharm el-Sheikh Arab Heritage Festival, International Camel Race. The President and his honorable guests visited the heritage and cultural exhibition of various Bedouin handicrafts and arts. During his reception of a high-level delegation from the members of the World Bank's Board of Executive Directors, President el-Sisi stressed on the importance of the Nile River for Egypt and its people, pointing to the fundamental difference between the right to development and the right to life and existence. The Egyptian President arrived in Berlin Germany, to participate in the activities of the Berlin Conference Summit on Libya. President el-Sisi started his activities in Berlin by receiving the United States Secretary of State. The meeting witnessed discussions on developments in the situation in Libya, where the president stressed in this regard that there is no way to settle the crisis except through a comprehensive solution and settlement that addresses all dimensions of the issue. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi arrived in the BRICS capital, London, to participate in the BRICS African Investment Summit at the invitation of the BRICS Prime Minister Boris Johnson. President el-Sisi stressed during his speech at the opening of the BRICS African Summit that this summit represents a new addition to international action to achieve the aspirations of the advancement of the African continent at various levels, and that the African continent confirms its full openness to cooperation with all partners, including Britain. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received the Mauritian Prime Minister. During the meeting, the President confirmed Egypt's keenness to strengthen cooperation between the two countries in various fields, particularly trade, technical support, and capacity building. President el-Sisi attended the official reception of the heads of delegations participating in the UK-Africa Investment Summit. President el-Sisi met the BRICS Prime Minister. During the meeting, they conducted closed bilateral talks, followed by an extended session between the delegations of the two countries, and the meeting discussed ways to coordinate efforts with Egypt in the field of combating terrorism and illegal immigration, as well as the latest developments in a number of regional and international topics of common interest. During his meeting with the President of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, President el-Sisi expressed Egypt's appreciation of the historic relations between Egypt and the DRC, stressing Egypt's keenness to improve coordination and bilateral consultation between the two countries. President el-Sisi met with the Prime Minister, Ministers of Defense, Foreign Affairs, Water Resources and Irrigation, and the head of the General Intelligence. During the meeting, they discussed the developments of the Renaissance Dam and Nahda Dam negotiations, as well as the measures taken to combat terrorism within the framework of protecting and securing state borders. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi went to the Police Academy in New Cairo to attend the 68th Police Day celebration. During the ceremony, the President held a meeting with members of the Police Supreme Council and honored a number of families of heroic police martyrs. Moreover, the President laid a wreath at the memorial to the martyrs of the police. President el-Sisi explained in his speech during the ceremony that the Police Day is not only a day for policemen, but it is also for all Egyptians, as policemen are an inseparable part of the hopes and pains of the nation and its national fabric. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received the Under-Secretary General of the United Nations and Executive Director of the United Nations Crime and Drugs Organization, Dr. Ghada Wali. The President affirmed Egypt's support for the role of the United Nations and the role of the United Nations Crime and Drugs Organization in facing global and regional challenges. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met with the Minister of Military Production, Dr. Mohammed Al-Assar. The meeting discussed the follow-up of the efforts to develop companies and factories belonging to the Ministry of Military Production and to strengthen its role in the development of the national economy. In his speech delivered on behalf of him by the Prime Minister during the launch of Al-Azhar International Conference on the Renewal of Islamic Thought, President el-Sisi called on religious institutions, led by Al-Azhar, to give due importance to the renewal of religious discourse, because overlooking this issue would leave the arena for pretentious scholars to negatively affect the minds of young people, leading them to misunderstand the tolerant provisions of Sharia. President el-Sisi received a telephone call from the President of the European Council, during which they addressed the latest developments in the Palestinian cause in light of the announcement of the American vision to solve it. They agreed to intensify efforts to make peace and reach a settlement of the Palestinian cause in a way that restores to the Palestinian people their full legitimate rights. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi received a telephone call from the German Chancellor Angela Merkel, during which they discussed the latest developments in the Palestinian cause and the Middle East peace process.
They agreed on the importance of opening dialogue channels to resume negotiations under the auspices of the United States and presenting the visions of the Palestinian and Israeli parties in order to reach an agreement that achieves a comprehensive and just peace.